Okay. Hi, Mr. Schefter. Great to be able to speak to you today.
Thank you for having me, Sammy.
No, do you think the Patriots' loss of Wes Welker and signing of Danny Amendola to replace him will benefit the perennial playoff threat Pats, or will it hurt them?
Well, I don't think you can lose a player like Wes Welker and not be impacted by that in some capacity, more to the negative than the positive. He was a huge factor in the success of that offense. I think for all the talk that there's been about Tim Tebow in recent days, I find it kind of interesting that Rob Gronkowski's injury and Wes Welker's departure will have a much bigger effect on that team and how it fares this year than Tim Tebow, and yet we are talking about Tim Tebow. But Wes Welker's role there cannot be underplayed, and I think that they will absolutely miss him, and I think that they will regret losing him to Denver. Clearly there was a big-time connection between he and Tom Brady, and that's not easy to replace. Danny Amendola is a good player when healthy, but that's the big question. Is he going to be healthy for this entire year? If he is, then the drop-off won't be too severe, but Danny Amendola has struggled to stay healthy, and we'll see if he's able to do it this season.
Right. Amendola's former team, the St. Louis Rams, made a splash in this year's draft by trying to replace him. What do you think of St. Louis's pairing of former West Virginia teammates Tavon Austin and Stedman Bailey?
I love that. I think they did a great job. I think that they needed playmakers on offense, and they went out and got the biggest playmaker on offense in this draft, and Tavon Austin, they traded up to go get him. They moved back to go get Alec Ogletree there in the back half of the first round. I thought they manipulated the draft perfectly and got the guys that they wanted and needed, and I think Tavon Austin has the chance to do for that offense what I think Deshaun Jackson has done for the Eagles offense, and he's a dynamic electric playmaker, and if the Rams can get that out of him, then I think the Rams can surprise some people this year.
Yeah, I agree. I think Bradford needed a playmaker as a wide receiver.
No doubt.
Tavon and Stedman had a great college quarterback in Geno Smith. Now that the Jets drafted Geno and he's in competition with Mark Sanchez for the team's starting job, who do you think will end up being the winner of this competition?
Well, there's a short-term winner and a long-term winner. And I think short-term, Sanchez wins the job. I think that on opening day when they played Darrelle Revis and the Buccaneers, I think Sanchez is behind center. Now, should the Jets struggle and should they be 2-4 or 3-5, or you pick the record and it's a losing record and their season's not going the way they want, I think at some point they're going to turn to Geno Smith to find out exactly what they have in him, and I think they're going to have to do that. But I think Sanchez, from what I understand, has played very well the last month. He's looked really solid. Yes, it's only OTAs and minicamp, and the guys are in shorts, and there's no pass rush and all of that, but it looks like he's really made a conscientious effort to step up his game and elevate his performance, and I think that's been the prevailing feeling in the organization, that he's looked a lot better.
Yeah, another high-profile quarterback that the Jets recently released is Tim Tebow. Tebow signed on with the Pats this week with no guaranteed money on his contract. What do you think he'll do for the Pats this year, if anything at all?
I think he'll be the number 3 quarterback, and that's if he makes the team, which I think he will. But I don't think he's doing anything more than the number 3 quarterback. I think Tom Brady's going to start. Tom Brady's not losing any snaps to Tim Tebow. I think Ryan Mallett is the backup. I don't think anything's going to happen there. And I think if Tim Tebow finds his way into that team, it'll be as the number 3 quarterback. I don't think he plays tight end. I don't think he plays running back. I don't think he plays wide receiver. I don't think he does anything other than be the backup quarterback that he was brought there to be.
Yeah, that's interesting that people were talking about him playing tight end, fullback, all these other positions when he never played that before. So I agree with you that he'll only be a backup quarterback at most.
Yeah, that's my feeling. You and I are in agreement there, Sammy.
Yeah. Tim Tebow started his career with the Broncos, who replaced him with the legendary Peyton Manning before last season. Now that Peyton has 3 great wide receivers in Welker, Thomas, and Decker, do you think that he will have an even better season than he had last year?
Well, it would be tough to duplicate that. I think that basically he had a tremendous year last year. But I will tell you that he's in a position to have even better this year, not only because of the personnel, but he's that much more familiar with the way that Demaryius Thomas and Eric Decker play. He's worked with these guys. He's gotten close to these guys. And so it's a situation where, from that standpoint, I think he's in a position to have a better season, and then he's got even more talent around him. So, yeah, I think he's absolutely got the chance to have a better season than last year, and last year went very well.
Yeah, definitely. Now, Peyton's little brother Eli must be getting a little nervous about the absence of Victor Cruz at the Giants' OTAs. Cruz has been his favorite target for the past 2 years. When and how do you think this whole Victor Cruz saga will end?
Well, it has to end with him reporting, and it has to end, I would think, sometime probably before training camp begins or shortly thereafter. I don't think that Victor Cruz can hold out very long. They've got a $2.87 million restricted free agent tender on him. He doesn't have a lot of options. To me, the deal gets done at some point. I may be in the minority here, but I don't find much drama or suspense in this situation. I don't think Eli Manning's worried about the situation. Victor Cruz has to play this season. He's going to play this season. The only question is when he decides to sign that tender or accept the long-term deal that they've offered.
Yeah, at least now he's not waiting out for his 2 top targets, as Knicks reported recently.
Yeah, I don't think there's ever a question or a concern about either of those guys, to be honest with you.
Yeah. While Victor Cruz is great, he's nowhere near Calvin Johnson Jr. Last season, Megatron shattered Jerry Rice's record of single-season receiving yards, finishing with 1,964 yards. Do you think he'll have another season of this caliber in 2013, or will the addition of Reggie Bush at running back limit his amount of receptions?
Well, first of all, he played last year with broken fingers, too. Yeah. So he put up those numbers playing through some pain.
Yeah.
Reggie Bush, I would think, would provide more balance to the offense. And I just think Calvin Johnson is such a superior talent that as long as he plays, as long as he's out there, as long as he's relatively healthy, he's going to put up similar numbers. So and that was a record-breaking season, so that's a little bit of an anomaly, a little bit of a unique situation. And to think that he'd do that again might be expecting a bit much, but if you look at his numbers every year, they're staggering numbers, and there's no reason why he wouldn't have them again this year.
Yeah, for sure. Reggie Bush's former team, the Miami Dolphins, did a whole lot to improve their team this offseason. Signing Brent Grimes, Donnell Ellerbe, and Mike Wallace really improved their chances. Not to mention their drafting of Deion Jordan out of Oregon with the 3rd pick. Do you think the Finns will make a run at the playoffs this season? I'm sorry.
See, you pointed all the additions, and those are significant, and they will help Miami. But I also haven't forgotten the subtractions, and I don't think you just go and lose your left tackle in Jake Long, your cornerback in Sean Smith, and your running back in Reggie Bush, and think that everything's going to be the same. And yes, they did get some people in there that will make some plays, including some pretty good players like Dustin Keller. But
that's true.
They also lost a lot of talent, and I think people are forgetting that, and they're not realizing all that they lost. Yes, they did add all these players you're talking about, but they lost a lot of talent, and I think that Miami basically will be hurt by that.
Yeah, it's interesting to see if Jonathan Martin can play left tackle now that Jake Long's not there anymore.
I don't know that he can.
Yeah, I don't think he can either. The other big-name wide receiver during free agency this year, other than Mike Wallace, was Greg Jennings. Jennings left the Packers to sign with the division rival Vikings. Clearly, the drop-off from Aaron Rodgers to Christian Ponder is quite large. Do you think Jennings' stats will take a large hit due to this QB change?
Yeah, well, I think they'll take a hit. I think Greg Jennings is a great wide receiver, and I'd love to have him on my team and in my locker room, but I don't think that you could expect the same kind of production from him playing with Christian Ponder as opposed to playing with Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers is the best quarterback in the game, and Christian Ponder is just not in that category. So just by that standard alone, I don't know how anybody could expect that Greg Jennings would have the same or similar stats that he had in Green Bay.
Yeah, not to mention he has a great running back on his team now with AP, when in Green Bay he didn't really have a running game.
Good point.
Jennings' new teammate, Adrian Peterson, who we just spoke about, came very close to beating out Eric Dickerson's record for single-season rushing yards last season, missing out by just 8 yards. Do you think AP will have another season like that, or is there nowhere to go but down for him?
Well, again, that was a record-breaking type season. He thinks he could rush at 2,500 yards. I think that's a bit ambitious, but the one thing that we do know is that there's not a running back in the game who's more talented than Adrian Peterson, and I don't know that he'll get over 2,000 yards, but I guarantee if he's on the field for 16 games, he's going to have minimum 1,600 yards, maybe 1,800, maybe 2,000 again. That certainly could be, but that guy, as long as he's out there, is going to put up big numbers.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, for his sake, I hope he comes close to the record again, because that was just 8 yards. It's such a heartbreaker. Mm-hmm. So close.
Yep, very close.
All right. Thank you very much for speaking with you today. It truly means a lot.
It sounds like you know what you're talking about. Best of luck in the future, and keep working hard.
Thank you.
You got it. Take care.
Bye.